Hi everyone, welcome to Celestine Expressive Arts. I'm Cecilia Inez. Thank you for being here with me. Let's go over the total solar eclipse that's happening next week on August 12th. I want to start with kind of just briefly going over what a solar eclipse is, discuss the Leo influences since it's also a new moon in Leo. What are some of the gifts that it's bringing and what are some of the shadow aspects to be mindful of? And then we'll dive into the spread. And so this is a south node eclipse that's delivering us into the territory of our heart. That's why I named this reflection the heart of becoming, because it's like we're getting into the heart of a matter. It's pertaining to things like creative expression, courage. So maybe we're going to be able to really resource that courage from within. It's all about our identity, something shifting within our identity, the way we perceive ourselves, the way we move in the world, pleasure, beauty. But it's like being able to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and being seen, like wholeheartedly, completely being vulnerable with others in a way that we haven't before, perhaps. And we also got the moon, and the moon is about the subconscious and deep hidden emotions that that are kind of rising to the surface now. And so we're unearthing something that's been really like hidden or buried in our hearts beneath the old stories, the grief that we've been working through, inherited beliefs, fears, longings. It's also connected to gifts. So maybe it's also about unearthing these gifts that have laid dormant that we haven't really been engaged with in a long time in our lives. The theme that's emerging, as I said, was the heart of becoming. So it's not a becoming in regards to becoming this new person, like this completely new person, or like inventing this new self from like scratch. It's really about just allowing our true selves to come out, not performing to earn our worthiness. It's not this like perfect version of ourselves that has to always present very polished. And so we're allowing our imperfections to come through too, because that's what makes us human. So there is a difference between allowing ourselves to be seen and performing for validation. And we're getting clear on that now. So it's about blooming into our true self. The self that may have been buried beneath old conditioning and old pain and old identities that once served us, but can no longer contain us, right? There's a part of us, that part that's been kind of like repressed or oppressed or hidden, is like now wanting to come out. It's like, wants to be freed. So it's like, what is a solar eclipse? I use all this language and it's like, and again, I'm learning astrology too, and I'm trying to integrate it more into the work that I'm doing. And so it's helping me as well, like expand my understanding. So what a solar eclipse is when the moon, literally the moon is eclipsing the sun. The moon overtakes the sun. It's along the path of totality. This is a total eclipse, so it's going to completely cover the sun and it gets dark. So day literally turns into night. I keep getting brought back to the totality card that I pulled for the monthly reflection. I'll put that video link below in the description. But we got the totality card from the Osho deck. What's happening now, literally is that it's like the sun and the moon are on this path of totality where they completely align, and the moon eclipses the sun. The fact that we got the moon card, the moon is here front and center. It's a moment when the familiar external world, which is the sun, it's our ego, it's what we present to the world. It's like that pauses, that gets eclipse, and then when the light changes, the internal world has space to speak. So then the moon comes. There's gonna be some sort of revelation, some sort of deeper understanding about who we are. Again, because we've been shedding and purging and letting go of these older ways of seeing ourselves. So it's about self-expression. So maybe we're going to be expressing ourselves more, being more outspoken, you know, taking up more space. Again, not being afraid like before to be seen, to be visible. And so the moon brings us into another realm that has to do with our instincts, with dreams. So the dream world, maybe try to keep track of your dreams around this time. It has to do with our fears. So maybe we're going to kind of confront a deep-seated fear that we've had. Our desires, our hidden desires, things that we haven't admitted to ourselves that we've wanted, that we've longed for. And again, subconscious material that does not always make itself known through logic. So it's not gonna be something that you can understand with your mind or reason with, like letting go of our minds and really, again, dropping into these uncomfortable feelings that are kind of trying to make themselves known. They're moving through our body. And it's also trying to just deliver us back to ourselves. Really, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. It makes me think of how diamonds are formed. Diamonds are formed with pressure and grit, you know, and it's like all like muddy and it's all, and then it's like it forms this beautiful, beautiful diamond. So it's almost like that's what we are. We're these diamonds in the rough. And we have to go through these, you know, challenging times, and we have to walk through the darkness sometimes and make the unconscious conscious in order to see the gifts that holds for us. Gifts that Leo is giving us is allowing us to connect to our hearts, to our creativity, self-expression. It's a very playful energy, leadership. So maybe we're going to be taking on more of a leadership role. I don't know. So those are some of the beautiful things. I mean, Leo is about like performance. Like Leos love to be the center of attention, but either a healthy or unhealthy expression of that, right? It could be too extreme where it's like, you know, that's all that you want, right? You always just want people to see you and get very self-centered or egotistical. So these are the shadow aspects, right? It becomes performative. So Leo is asking us, what wants to be expressed through me right now? There's something wanting to be, that ache. We were talking about the hungry ghost in the monthly reflection. Underneath is something that wants to be nurtured and brought forth. So what is it that wants to be expressed through us? Not what will be most approved of, right? It's not about like approval. It's not about validation. It's about us expressing something and allowing ourselves to be witnessed, but not, you know, putting all the weight on getting the validation. Finding that validation from within. It's about giving more than receiving. Another question is, what is genuinely alive in me, right? There's something that's alive in us that wants, it needs movement, it needs expression. So the gift of Leo is really creative renewal. There's going to be a creative renewal. Maybe our identity is going to go through some sort of shift. We're going to be more bold, more expressive. It is about trusting the unique creative current moving through us. It is personal power that comes from being in sincere relationship with our own hearts. With our own hearts. This is a project I did for my capstone, and I'm very proud of it. And I thought this was a perfect backdrop for the theme of this solar eclipse and for August, really. It is about something vulnerable. Again, remember we were talking about this wound that's going to be activated, and it's something about allowing that wound to be exposed, and for us to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and seen completely, wholeheartedly, all of it, wounds and all. And maybe it's about channeling that through some sort of craft or some sort of something. And again, it doesn't have to be artistic or creative. It can be, you know, I know people who are very physical, who are into like outdoor sports and rock climbing. And so maybe it's about doing something like getting out of your comfort zone and trying something new and challenging yourself on a physical level. You know, some people are more cerebral and love reading and writing, and maybe it's about, you know, publishing your own book. I don't know. It's going to be different for everyone else, or even believing that it's even possible, right? Entertaining that possibility is going to be more accessible to us now. But not getting trapped by the performance of it, or like wanting to perform for validation. Something, truth-telling, getting to the heart of the matter, as we were saying, speaking our truth, or someone revealing the truth to us. So this eclipse may be asking us to look honestly at where we have confused attention with intimacy. That's a big one, especially for me too. Applause, we have to get clear on that. Applause with belonging, or external approval with self-trust. Learning to trust yourself. What would it mean to express ourselves from a place of true inner authenticity? What would it mean to let the heart lead? Not as a spectacle, but as a form of devotion. A lot of great questions. Let's get into the Astro weather, and then we'll get into the cards. I wanted to just briefly point out some of the transits that the month has opened up with, and because that's going to be leading us to the solar eclipse. And so, as I mentioned in the monthly reflection, I talked in length about the Chiron going retrograde that happened August 3rd. And this happened in Taurus, an earth sign, asking us to revisit wounds around worth, vulnerability, security, our body, our physical body, our right to have needs. So that's what we've been working with. And again, all these transits are working together and supporting us right now. August 6th, we had Venus enter Libra. There's a lot of planets changing signs right now. These are just a few of the ones that are leading us up to the solar eclipse, but I think there's a few more that are happening after. But so Venus entering Libra it's all, again, very supportive energy, because Venus is the planet of love. Libra is all about love, all about relationships, harmony in relationships, understanding, balance. Libra is the scales, right? So brings attention towards balancing our lives, balancing ourselves internally, balancing our relationships, bringing more harmony into our life, into the world. Beauty, again, more appreciation for beauty, and bringing that into our homes, into our lives, into our relationship, just appreciating the beauty around us. It's about reciprocity, again, giving and receiving, and the truth of how we relate to ourselves and others. Then we have on August 9th, which is happening tomorrow, actually, Mercury is going to be entering Leo. So again, we have more Leo energy. And it's going to keep pressing us towards this heart-centered expression, towards saying what we really mean, naming what is true for us, becoming more conscious of the stories we tell ourselves. And if some of them have to be released, or if something, revised or rewritten or burned. And lastly, on the 11th, right before the day before the eclipse, we have Mars entering Cancer. This adds an emotional, very protective undercurrent. Cancer is all about the home and security and family. Our energy turns inward towards what is tender, personal, ancestral, and in need of care. So this is all very supportive energy, leading us to this big turning point of the solar eclipse. And again, it's not like it's like this instant thing that happens. These are themes to reflect on and to constantly be working on, things that are constantly unfolding and shifting and changing and overlapping. A few questions. What wound around worth is being reopened so that it can be met differently and healed? What relational truth needs to come into balance? What truth of the heart needs to be spoken? What tender part of the self needs to be protected as we move towards greater authenticity? Because yes, it is about, Leo's about coming out and boom, saying the thing, doing the thing. but it's also doing it not in a way where it's going to harm us or harm other people, right? We want to be conscious about how we do it. Yes, passionately. Yes, asserting ourselves. Yes, we're wanting to live more deliberately and intentionally, but it's like also reflecting and thinking how, because that's what the magician does, right? It's like they're working with all these different elements and tools and bringing all these things together and even, you know, and alchemizing that. So that takes mastery. That takes time to figure things out and to understand how things work and to tap into what's going on inside us and how we can bring that forward in a way that is the most supportive and loving way to do it, you know? All right. Let's break it down. We're going to break down the reading. Beautiful folks. Let's get into this story that's unfolding. I'm using the Radiant Tarot deck. I hadn't used it in a minute and it's still new to me, but I love the artwork. As you could see, here's such beautiful, vibrant, whimsical artwork. So I pulled the first 3 cards that are on top here. So the 6 of Swords, the Moon, and then the Magician, and these are clarification cards. The Hierophant, Judgment, and the Fool. Fool reappearing again and again, just like the Rebel. Rebel, the Fool. There's a few cards that have been just showing up continuously. So we got to pay attention. So the 6 of Swords and the Hierophant is all about healing, unburdening, again, letting go of the past, consciously leaving the old story behind. Because the Hierophant has to do with structure. So maybe it's about letting go of an old structure, old belief system, something around our identity that we're leaving behind. And then the Moon and the Judgment card is all about unearthing what has been buried and making the darkness conscious, right? This is, again, illuminating something that's been hidden. But the Judgment, too, is about letting go of judgment, right? I feel that sometimes we could be hard on ourselves. I know it's been coming up for me, where sometimes, yeah, I mean, we don't want to deal with the hard stuff sometimes. Maybe we feel like it's too much for us to handle. But I feel that the universe doesn't really give us more than we can handle. And that's why I continue to say that we're always working through these things layer by layer, you know, step by step, stage by stage, so that we are able to, whatever's being unearthed now and being revealed, we have now the wisdom, the capacity to take it on, to metabolize it, to look at it, to reflect on it, and then decide at the end what's the best decision for ourselves. No one can make that decision for us. And so it's also about letting go of that judgment, the judgment of like not getting it right, or like, oh, I don't know what to do, like the fear of making mistakes, you know, the inner critic that is constantly judging us, the things we do, our decisions, which could be connected to the clinging to the past. Maybe that's what was keeping us stuck. We were, you know, feeling this regret around things that happened, or, you know, choices that were made. But we have to let go of that judgment as well. And maybe judgment that we hold against others. Sometimes we don't even know that we're going into certain situations, or you know, if we're starting a new relationship or friendship, or even in long-lasting relationships where we don't realize that we're holding certain judgments against people. Then we have the Fool and the Magician card, reclaiming creative sovereignty and turning recovered life force into creation. Yes, we've been talking a lot about that, and this is it. We have it here. This is the Magician creating something, right? Conjuring something up. And so this first row is a crossing. The 6 of Swords, I wanted to bring in the traditional tarot because I find this very uncanny that here you see that there's a mother and a child, She's veiled. There's some, you know, she's kind of stumped over. So there is this indication of like sorrow or sadness, having to leave something behind, but move forward. And you see the waters here are choppy. So this is an indication of like leaving troubles, leaving challenges behind and moving to calmer water. And there's like distant shores. You know, there's also something around safety because the child is with the mom. And then you have here, when we progress to the second row, we have the moon card and you have the boat here. It's very mysterious because you can't see who's in the boat. I mean, we assume if it's the same story, it's a continuation. And maybe they've arrived at this new destination, but you see this path ahead, but you can't see what's beyond the horizon, you know. There's also this string tethered up into the sky, almost like into the heavens. I almost feel like that's indicating like guidance, divine guidance. And then the moon is illuminating the way, is showing us the way ahead, right? And then there's two, I didn't even notice the second bat. There's a bat right in front of the moon, and then there's one right here. You can't even see it. So again, there's something that's hidden, that's gonna be revealed. We don't see the whole picture, and something's going to be revealed. So we're leaving them behind, and this is amazing how it goes with the monthly reading, because we pull clinging to the past. So now maybe we're at a point, or we're going to get there soon. Again, this is not literal where it's like this is going to all happen all at once during the eclipse. This is, you know, going to progress and unfold, you know, based on everyone's own life and timeline. But yeah, there's definitely like this, we finally maybe came to accept that we have to move on, that we have to let this thing go. And then now we're starting the voyage, the journey ahead. And there's something around, like, I don't know, about softness, because in this deck, I find it interesting that they put the swords and the butterfly, because they're so contrasting, right? They're so contrasting. This is so soft and ethereal and so delicate, right? And then you have these steel swords. They're sharp and cold and heavy. Yeah, that's another thing. Butterflies are very light, right? There's this lightness to them. And so, and the butterfly is in the front and center, kind of like the moon as well, because the moon has to do with our emotions, with the subconscious, you know. And I almost feel like we're supposed to connect to this vulnerable part of ourselves, this tender part of ourselves, and give it attention and give it love. And maybe it's not about seeking attention or seeking, you know, validation from the outside. It's about us giving it to ourselves, giving that attention to this attention that we're seeking externally, you know, turn it inward and giving it to ourselves. But there is this beautiful softness. I mean, butterflies also represent like transformation, metamorphosis, right? Going through this rebirth. And the fact that the butterfly is also covering the edges of the sword, like those are the parts that really can wound and pierce someone. So it's almost like letting go of that harshness, or, you know, which I almost feel goes with the Judgment card. The judging, the harshness, the shame, all that stuff that is really burdening us and harming us. If we think about weightlessness and weight, right, with the butterfly versus the steel swords that are so heavy, there's something about letting something heavy go, unburdening ourselves, so that we can move forward with this lightness of being, this weightlessness, and allow this, whatever's guiding us, to allow it to lead us. Like, and letting go of some of that control and trusting the journey and trusting the process. And then you have the six swords in the boat. The swords are still present. The story's not that we magically forget what happened, but that the past disappears because we have decided to move on. It's about unburdening our hearts too, to make room for other things, for delight, for love, for pleasure, for creativity, for your life force to be able to move freely within you. The story is that something has changed in our relationship to the past. We may still carry memory, we may still carry grief, but we are no longer meant to remain in the turbulent waters. And now, how does the Hierophant fit into this? It speaks to like traditional institutions, inherited values, conventional beliefs, things like that. So maybe through our culture, through the religion that we grew up in, and maybe we're still participating in. It's about morality, so moral frameworks, spiritual guidance, learning, knowledge sharing. So paired with the Six of Swords, this transition is about doing it with some level of structure and meaning and intention. This is something that has taken a lot of thought and reflection and commitment to be like, I'm going to do this, and how am I going to do this, and what am I going to do once I land on that other side? And so it's something that's being really thought out and contained within some sort of structure through our planning, through our organizing, because we were talking about that in the previous reading. We've been restructuring and recalibrating things in our lives and within us. It's not random. It's not a random like drift. It's a guided journey away from confusion, from pain, from emotional turmoil. And the Hierophant also is asking us to look at our beliefs, the beliefs that shaped us. Because we were talking about wounds, again, clinging to the past, and we were talking about there's some wounds that are going to be activated and triggered. And maybe those wounds have the answer, because then look, they're holding a key. Like we hold the key to the answers that we're seeking and to the healing that we're seeking. But we have to be willing to go in, right? To use the key and go really deep within, which is not an easy journey, as you could see here. But it's a journey that is really full of heart, and that's going to lead us to the truth. What have we been taught about what makes us lovable? Because again, we're talking about the solar eclipse is all about our identity. So maybe we're reevaluating that too, like things that we thought we were. Like, what's interesting with this card? Like, this is the opposite of judgment, right? She doesn't look like she's feeling shame or insecure or fearful of like, she has her arms open, she has her wings spread out. And the interesting thing too is that I just noticed we have two butterflies here. Again, this metamorphosis, this transformation of self. I brought in the traditional tarot for judgment because it's such a different card. Look how different this is. But interesting enough, they have their arms out and open too. It's something about like receiving, reaping the things you sowed. Right? All your deeds from the past, all the things, all your decisions, your choices, it's like cause and effect. Now they're going to be kind of coming to light. It's this culmination of like, I don't know, reclamation. Let's wrap this up and then we can move on to the next one. So yes, what have we been taught about loyalty, sacrifice, success, safety, spirituality, partnership, creativity, and belonging? Because those are the things that are kind of up for review right now. Which values and traditions have genuinely held us? Which one have kept us conforming to an old identity? The heart of becoming begins with this conscious choice to cross the water into this unknown. But that's promising, to unburden ourselves, to leave behind the old struggle, not because it was meaningless, but because it can no longer guide us into the next chapter of our lives. Let's start. I'm presenting a lot of questions. You can write the ones that you feel called to, that you resonate with, and journal about them. What old story am I finally ready to leave behind? Where have I been clinging out of fear, loyalty, or familiarity? What wisdom and practice or mentor or ritual belief can help steady me as I cross? Because that's true. Your tools, like the magician. What is it that helps you? What is it that's helping you? It helps you cross through these turbulent waters to get to the other side. And do those things. Is it being out in nature? Is it meditating? Is it listening to music? Is it calling a friend? You know, what belief system must be outgrown for my heart to breathe more freely? Ooh, I like that one. I might journal about that one. The fact that the moon is appearing for this new moon solar eclipse reading is so deeply resonant. It's amazing. The moon is the realm of dreams, illusion, intuition, fear, the subconscious, as we were saying, uncertainty, right? Because we were saying we can't really tell what's going on in this card. We can't see anyone. We don't know where the road is leading. We don't know what's going on. But there's this beautiful little tethered thread that's guiding the boat. And it's going upwards into the heavens, into the sky. So it's like something divine. Something otherworldly, something, you know, we can't really see. Memories, right? That has to do with the subconscious, dreams, the things we may feel but cannot yet fully name. This card appears when nothing is quite as it seems, when we cannot navigate through logic alone. Again, you can't just use logic or the mind or, you know, reason your way out of it, is what I'm saying. You can't. And the body has deep wisdom. Whatever the body's feeling is like an indicator. It's telling you something that's right underneath, you know, that's connected to your emotions and your unconscious. And so we got to tune into it, as uncomfortable as that may feel. When we are asked to rely on inner knowing, symbols, sensations, dreams, intuition, the moon brings us to the material that has been buried in the heart. Perhaps it is grief that never had the space to be felt. And even in this card, yeah, we're willingly leaving. We're making the choice. We're taking the initiative to do this for ourselves. It doesn't mean that it's not something that causes us sorrow. You know, there might be a sense of loss in that, even though we know it's the best thing for us. Old grief that we never had the space or the time or the capacity to really allow ourselves to process. Perhaps it's desire that felt too vulnerable to admit. Perhaps it's a creative calling that was put aside in the name of safety, practicality, responsibility, being accepted. Perhaps it is tenderness, rage, sensuality, longing, loneliness, or the part of us that had to go quiet in order to survive, right? The hungry ghost that we were talking about in the monthly reflection. Maybe it's connecting to your sensuality. Maybe it's something that you've longed for and you kind of also, you never admitted it to yourself or to others. Now you're like, you know what? I want to do this thing, and maybe I never admitted it because I thought it was stupid or it wasn't practical. And how does the Judgment card connect to the moon? Judgment is spiritual rebirth, awakening, inner calling, higher purpose. So maybe it's about uncovering that. Like maybe you realize you were in the wrong career, and then you get connected to your higher purpose. And the moment when we are asked to see ourselves honestly. So the figure raising from the graves. Yeah, here we go. The figure's rising from the graves. I didn't know. Yeah, because it's rebirth, right? We were talking about that. It's rebirth. It's like coming to life again. Maybe we've been sleepwalking through our lives. Maybe we've just kind of, been going through the motions, and now we're being resurrected. Our spirits are being resurrected or something like that. So the figures rising from the graves are not simply being judged from outside of themselves. They are waking up. So this is an awakening. The judgment can feel karmic because it brings us to a cosmic checkpoint, a life review, a reckoning with cause and effect, and the invitation to meet the unfinished material of the past before the cycle completes. This is not punishment. It is conscious completion. Again, we're choosing this. We're conscious of this. And we're ready to move on. We're ready to move on. We have moved on. I think that the cycle has completed, or definitely the eclipse season, this eclipse season is definitely saying like, boom, closing the door once and for all. Brings forward the unconscious material. Judgment sounds the horn that says, wake up. This can no longer remain buried. Wow. The sun's familiar light is temporarily obscured. That's what happens during a solar eclipse. The ego, the performance, the carefully managed identity steps back, and in that darkened space, something more ancient and honest has the chance to breathe. It made me think of this Carl Jung quote that I feel connects to this reading. It's one does not become enlightened by imagined figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The heart of becoming requires this encounter, right? Making the unconscious conscious, meeting ourselves, really. So we do not become more authentic by bypassing our fears, pretending we have no shadows, or presenting only the polished parts of ourselves. We become more whole by bringing what has been hidden into conscious relationship, by witnessing ourselves, by listening for the call beneath that performance, by allowing what has been buried to rise. So a few questions for this row. Again, you can write them down. What has been hidden in my heart or subconscious? What am I ready to see honestly? What unfinished lessons or karmic pattern is asking for conscious completion? What inner calling have I been hearing beneath the noise? What changes when I stop running from the shadow and begin listening to it? What changes? Final row, we end with these beautiful, beautiful cards here. So we started with this, right? This is the transition. This is the crossing. We land here. This is the reveal, the revelation, the waking up to ourselves, remembering who we are, admitting to ourselves the things that we've hidden. And then we arrive at this alchemical manifestation, creative sovereignty returns. This is what it is. This wild inspiration that's underneath all this, that we have to, we have to unburden ourselves. We have to free ourselves in order to reach this inspiration. And so the Fool card is raw, wild, imagination, inspiration. It's pure potential, willing to take a leap before there's proof that everything will work out. But something deep down in your heart, you know that it is. Even if it doesn't work out the way you expected it to, it's still going to work out, if you know what I mean. Just because it's not what you want, right? It doesn't present itself in the form that you want. It doesn't mean that it's not working out. You know what I'm saying? It's taken me a while to understand that, and I still forget, and I always have to remind myself. But to do that, I think that we reach a point where we believe in ourselves enough to take that leap. If we didn't, I don't think that we would. So the Fool is the willingness to begin, the willingness to trust that the path can reveal itself through movement. So after being maybe stuck, right? After being stagnant and stuck and decisive or confused, or just not being able to let go of the past or let go of something that was holding us down, weighing us down, then finally now we begin. We have the willingness to do it, right? And we're trusting the path. And we're trusting it as we take action, because it's also about taking action. It's a slow action. It doesn't have to be like this impulsive energy where we're like rushing to get everything done. Very intentional. And it's about mastery. I'm looking at this card and it's like this person is like knows what they're doing. They practiced this for so long and now they're finally putting it into action. Like this is the moment. This is the moment to do the thing. There's no turning back. And so the Fool is, yes, the willingness to begin. The Magician stands beside the Fool as the focused intention, skilled with agency and ready to manifest. The Magician knows that the creation is not only a dream, right? They don't see themselves as like wasting their time. Like they're doing this because they believe in it and they're ready to make shit happen. You have the power and the tools to work with what arrives. This is what I would call alchemical manifestation. I love that. Alchemical manifestation. So what appears to be magic is often us taking back our creative power, our creative sovereignty, our personal power. It is us reclaiming the life force that has been tied up in the clinging to the past, carrying old grief, maintaining old identities, fearing visibility, and suppressing the deeper truth of our hearts. Wow. When the life force returns, it needs somewhere to go, right? We need to take that, inspiration and motivation and enthusiasm that we have, and we have to channel it into something, right? We're working with our hearts here. We're purifying our hearts. I almost feel like that's part of the Fool. There's a purification happening too, where we're purging out all this old, dark, heavy stuff. And we even have all the things, we have all the tools and the things we need. We just have to use them, and we have to put them to use. And we've been talking about self-mastery as well. Self-mastery. We've been trying to master our own mind, master our own lives, taking responsibilities for our own lives. What appears to be magic is just us taking our power back. When the life force returns, it needs somewhere to go. It becomes a creation, a work of art, a new way of relating, a conversation, an idea, a ritual, a practice, a project, a new beginning, a boundary. And what we make from this place, we can serve more than ourselves, right? We're not only serving ourselves, we're serving others. When we create from genuine contact with our hearts, with the heart, not from performance or scarcity or the need for validation, our creations can become an offering to the collective. Woo! It can carry medicine. It can create connection. It can give others permission to become more honest with themselves too. Right? We become examples for other people. This is Leo at its most radiant, right? We were talking about how each sign has shadow aspects, has gifts, has light aspects. And so this is Leo at its most beautifully, secure, conscious, radiant place. Not merely shining for attention, but allowing life force of the heart to become something generous, alive, shared. And we talked about that in the monthly reflection as well. This is something, right? We're bringing in this Aquarius. We're in the age of Aquarius and bringing in this humanitarian kind of perspective where it's about the collective and not just the few. A few questions to end this, and then we'll close out. Where is my creative sovereignty returning? Where in your life? It can be in different areas of your life. What raw inspiration is asking to be acted upon? What is the next leap my heart wants to take? Ooh, I want to write that one down. What tools, skills, and resources do I already have? What could I create with the life force I'm reclaiming? How might my truest creation also become an offering to others? Wow, that's an amazing question too. I'm going to journal on that one. What might my truest creation also become an offering to others?